Hello and welcome to the Brainspotting webinar. This is going to give you information on what the actual brainspotting is. It is the newest, most effective therapy modality yet, in my opinion. Worked on me like a charm after trying multiple other things. So I'm going to show you today what brainspotting is and how you might be able to do this if you think it fits you. So, what is brainspotting? Well, brainspotting locates points in the client's visual field that help to access unprocessed trauma in the subcortical brain. Subcortical brain means in the very back of your brain. So where you look affects how you feel. Dr. David Grand said this when he started this brain spotting journey. It's the brain activity, especially in the subcortical brain, that organizes itself around that eye position. So what in the world am I talking about? Am I even speaking English? Let's look at this. Give you a visual here. The retina originates as an outgrowth of the developing brain. So it is literally part of your central nervous system. This nerve is actually connected. So your eye is connected to your brain, that back part of your brain where trauma is stored. Let's keep going. When something happens to you that's traumatic, the cortical processing, which is in the front of your brain, this is where you process logical information, it takes 500 to 600 milliseconds. The subcortical brain in the back, this fight or flight, freeze or fawn response, takes 50 milliseconds. Do you see the difference? The cognitive processes follow in response sequentially to the somatic processes. These are all really big words. In layman's terms, when you have something traumatic happen to you, your body reacts right away. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. You have no time to think. This is why people freeze, or they just run away. Or some people you've seen on some of these videos like scream and punch somebody. This is what happens. Your body is like, whoa! And then your brain processes what happened. Okay? This is how trauma gets stuck in the back of your brain and it becomes anxiety. So, moving on. This is what happens. Traumatic event happens. That's that red lightning bolt, right? So then your brain goes all over the place. What we want is this gray, this very normal fluctuating thing. When trauma happens, it goes back and forth to these stuck on or stuck off moments. So if you're stuck on, you're feeling the anxiety, the panic, hyperactivity, exaggerated startle, inability to relax, restlessness, hypervigilance, digestive issues, emotional flooding, chronic pain, sleeplessness, hostility, and rage. When it's stuck off, that's when you experience the depression, that really flat effect, lethargy, exhaustion, a deadness, this chronic fatigue, disorientation, disconnection, disassociation. You start to become less emotional. Your relationships start to suffer. Complex syndromes like PTSD, pain, low blood pressure, poor digestion. I've even seen like the OCD, that would be more on the stuck on. So these things can all be effects of your traumatic event getting trapped back there. All right. So what we're going to do, so let's look at chronic complex PTSD. Results in the overproduction of cortisol. This is stress, it's stressor. This causes suppression of neurogenesis and atrophy in the hippocampus. Basically what this means is your memory is going to fade. Isn't that terrible? So if you have complex PTSD, it is literally shrinking your brain, the part that you really need. So when it's back in regulation, it's restored, the cortisol production reduces. That means less stress, supporting hippocampal regeneration, meaning it's going to start getting better. Sorry about all the big words. Okay. It makes me sound really smart though, right? I didn't write this though. I'm just reading it from my class actually that I learned about brain spotting. Had these slides and I stole them. At least I'm admitting it. Ask for forgiveness, not permission. Okay, so what does it help with? Creativity or performance enhancement has been known to help athletes actually get over slumps or get over fears that they have about doing a trick, or like in gymnastics, if you fall on your head doing a back handspring like I did in 3rd grade, you are very scared to try that again and you have this mental block. So it helps athletes with slumps. Eliminating anxiety and panic attacks. This was my story. I had extreme anxiety because of one trigger, but this one trigger happened every day, multiple times a day, and I didn't know how to handle it. So it eliminated my anxiety. I was able to cope and handle it much better. To this day, I have not had an instance of anxiety over this one trigger. It is fabulous. I would have paid $1,000 to have that one session if I knew this is what the results would be. Recovering from depression, OCD and control issues, trust issues. If you're having trust issues in your relationship because of a past relationship, Brainspotting is fabulous. You have to try it. Dissociation. If people have told you you're not emotional enough, you're closed off, you're cold, those could be something from a traumatic event that you might not even remember. I had something in a Brainspotting come up that was from my own birthing experience, like I was being born. Didn't even know. I asked my mom about it. She's like, yes, that happened. I was like, what? It is crazy. Chronic pain. If you have pain that's chronic, try Brainspotting. I have seen some crazy things happen with this. It is fabulous. Sometimes chronic pain is from stress or abuse, like long-term abuse, or an accident you might have been in, and your body's still carrying the trauma through tension. Okay, so let's talk about how Brainspotting works as far as an efficacy level. It is more effective and lasts longer than any other modality used in therapy today. And that is proven by multiple studies that have been done. So the effects of it last longer and have more of an effect than all of the other modalities used in therapy. Ease of use. Appointments can be done in person or virtually, and they are just as effective either way. Mine were all done virtually over Zoom. I think that's fabulous. Shorter case length. Most of the time, if you're in therapy, you're probably going to be in therapy for 1, 2, 3 years. Issues can be worked through in 3 to 5 sessions with Brainspotting. Unbelievable fast results. I'm not saying that you're not going to need therapy in the future. If you like talk therapy, have at it. I'm not trying to get in trouble with any therapists. In fact, if you're a therapist watching this, do a Brainspotting training. You will thank me later. Less invasive. So I have talked to several people actually who have said that EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization reprocessing, see how smart I am? I have talked to several people who have said this form of reliving your trauma is super aggressive and they couldn't handle it. Totally understand. Brainspotting is a little bit different. It's less invasive, and we can actually work on that traumatic memory from a resource spot where you're calm and grounded, and it's not going to feel so intense. So if you have had that experience with EMDR, you might want to just try a Brainspotting session and see how it goes. All right. So different kinds of trauma. Trauma can be more than what we would think. It's not just like a sexual assault or a rape or being beaten or whatever. So trauma could be a car accident. Trauma could be friends or family's death, an illness or an injury. It could be emotional, psychological, or physical or sexual abuse. So even emotional and psychological abuse, and actually more so they're finding, are mentally damaging. They are. Have you ever been psychologically abused, noticing your memory is worse? You're starting to doubt yourself. You feel crazy. You have this fog. That is a side effect and a symptom of psychological and emotional abuse. It is literally shrinking. Remember when we talked earlier? It's shrinking the part of your brain that holds memory and that organizes things. So let's see, another trauma. Any memory that resurfaces continually. So this could be something as simple as like going into a store, and every time you go into that store, you remember this time when you were a kid and you got left and you were scared. It does affect how you're feeling in the store. It might even affect how you're spending money. It might affect what food you're buying. It's so crazy how things can be connecting and you don't even know that. And then slumps, ruts, continual unexplained failures. That can create trauma because then you start to not believe in yourself and you start believing those lies. Okay, so what does an appointment look like? I like to joke that it's literally just a staring contest and I stare at you while you stare at my wand. Not true. So this lady here in the first picture is holding one of the wands. Well, both of them are. And so the therapist holds the wand, or the brain spotting practitioner. The client sits across from her, and we find your spot. Now, if this is in a Zoom, it's just on your screen. So you'll give the practitioner an idea of what issue you'd like to address, and the practitioner will help you to activate those feelings and emotions that go with it. Now, if you were, like I talked earlier, having this intense memory, we're going to talk about the memory, but then we're going to find a place where you feel most calm, grounded, and neutral. We'll actually work on the memory from that spot. It's much more relaxing than having to relive it. So when your feelings and emotions are intense, we can work from a resource spot, like I just said, so I got ahead of myself. I do that a lot. We find the spot that most identifies with the feelings and emotions you're targeting by using bodily or somatic cues and reflexes. So I'm watching your body for cues that you don't even know are happening. Or you can tell me where to go if you start feeling that feeling come up, which is awesome. So we give your brain time and space. You process whatever comes to mind, and you can either talk to your practitioner through it, or you can process quietly or do a mixture of the two. It lasts about 45 to 60 minutes. I have had people go 90 minutes before, but I personally like to keep it to 45 to 60 minutes. All right, so that is brain spotting, my loves. If you have any questions at all, please reach out to me. I am everywhere. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I need to be on Twitter. I might do that soon. So if you're watching this at a later date, I might be on Twitter already. I have a website, reclaimjournal.com. If you go to /brainspotting, you can schedule a free call to ask me any questions you want and see if this is right for you. If you have extremely severe, like PTSD from war or extreme childhood sexual assault, I will probably point you in the direction of my therapist, who is amazing at this and has been doing it longer than me, but I can usually work on most everything else. So give me a shout. Schedule your exploratory call on my website, reclaimjournal.com /brainspotting, and I would love to give you just an overview of what your appointment would look like. So give me a shout. I can't wait to hear from you, and I hope you learned a lot about brain spotting, which is probably not what you thought, huh? All right. Any feedback is welcome. You guys have a great day.